This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and I ask again, if you have to pass a resolution in the House against anti-Semitism, what does that mean in terms of what you've been tolerating in the House prior to the resolution? Nancy Pelosi, thankfully, was there to explain it to us.
I don't think that that the Congresswoman is perhaps appreciate the full weight of how it's heard by other people, although I don't believe it was intended in any anti-Semitic way. But the fact is, if that's how it was interpreted, we have to remove all doubt, as we have done over and over again. So, resolution passed in the House. I love Nancy Pelosi's giving the non-apology apology for Ilhan Omar. If you heard anti-Semitism, I'm sorry. You know, if you were offended by what I said, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry about what I said.
She should apologize, though, Congresswoman Omar.
She did. She apologized, and she said,
it again.
Well, she gave the Harvey Weinstein apology. I'm sorry you're offended by what I said, but hey, look, I don't have time for this. I got to go get after the NRA. Yeah, real compelling stuff. Jan Schakowsky, Calamity Jan.
Turning on her tribe, okay, people?
Calamity Jan, the wife of convicted felon Creamy Bob.
Ew.
She had this to say about Ilhan Omar. What you heard her say, she didn't say. What you think she meant, she didn't mean.
But if you want to know the truth, the majority of us, our vast majority, are going to be voting for a resolution that I hope puts this to bed, that says, yes, as a Jew, anti-Semitism is a huge deal. The anti-Semitic acts are up 50% over last year. But Islamophobia is also a huge problem. And I want to tell you that Ilhan Omar, Congresswoman, is under tremendous attack, death threats. I think maybe she needs some security. And why? Because I think in part the Republicans and the media have blown this up to be much more than it is. We do have to deal with the kind of diversity in our caucus. But I want to tell you, Ilhan talked to me personally.
Yeah, what did she tell you? Do you feel reassured?
Not only did she apologize for the words that she has used, but she apologized personally to me as a Jew. And I want to tell you, part of being a Jew is to be welcoming to the stranger. And I want to tell you, Ilhan Omar is a refugee from Somalia. She comes from a different culture. She has things to learn.
I'll tell you,
it doesn't change what's in her heart.
My head is spinning. Yeah. I don't know what's in her heart, but I know it's on her Twitter page. And that's where the problem lies. And I know what she says, and those of her ilk, the Linda Sarsours and the anti-Semites that were in charge of the PHAT March, where you had even the Southern Poverty Law Center and the AFL-CIO have to pull out of sponsoring the PHAT March because those organizers were too hateful for them. Okay. And the other thing with Schakowsky, I'm sorry, which is it again? It's a cultural difference. It's the Republicans' fault.
It's the media's fault.
So I don't understand, Jan, if it's the Republicans' fault, if there's nothing here, if this is all to be chalked up to a cultural difference, then why would Ilhan Omar apologize to you personally? Why would you even want her to? What does she have to apologize for? I mean, this sort of arguing in the alternative shysterism of the Jan Schakowskys and Nancy Pelosi's and Elliot Ingalls of the world is really embarrassing and should be deconstructed by Republicans. Unfortunately, we have one of those. He's Sean Duffy. He's a congressman from the 7th District in Wisconsin, Republican, and he joins us again now. Sean, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it. Hey, Sean? Do we have Sean? Hello, Sean.
Oh, hey, you know what? I had you guys muted. I'm sorry. I took you off mute now.
There you go.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you. So what about that resolution denouncing hate in the House yesterday?
So let's take a step back. So first off, Congresswoman Omar has been, for a very long time making anti-Semitic comments. And, in our jobs with you guys on radio and us in Congress, we say things and sometimes we can make mistakes. And when we do, we apologize for it. But when you keep making the same mistake, it's not a mistake. She keeps saying anti-Semitic, anti-Israel things. And so Nancy Pelosi realized that. And so she was going to come to the floor with a resolution condemning anti-Semitism. Well, they had before the vote was to come up, they had a Democrat meeting with all the House members in the Democrat Party, a caucus meeting, and it became a food fight, complete pandemonium, because a lot of the members inside the Democrat conference didn't want to have to vote on were opposed to anti-Semitism. And so then what happened is they had to put together a resolution that said, not only are we opposed to being anti-Semitic, but we're also opposed to, anyone who would be African-American or Native American or Jewish or Muslim or Hindu or Sikh or immigrant they threw everything in there, which really diminishes the whole resolution itself to say, you know what? We have a member who's making anti-Semitic commentary, and we should call her out. And by the way, just to put this in the context, there's a lot of leaders, I'm not going to name them right now, but leaders of the Democrat Party, if you two want to name them, you can, who have a very good relationship with Louis Farrakhan, an anti-Semite. He's the one who said, I'm not an anti-Semite, I'm an anti-termite. And they never get called out for this stuff. And the party defends the language and the haters of Israel, and I think it's too bad.
How are you handling this new Congress and this group of, to me, radicalized women? You've got AOC and then Omar.
Well, you know what? This isn't funny stuff, but you have to have some fun with it. You guys, this is not the Green New Deal stuff, but we had a hearing in financial services where Maxine Waters is the chairwoman. Mm-hmm. AOC is on our committee. She wrote the Green New Deal, and we were doing views and estimates. And so it was kind of what's our projection for the year of the things we want to do in financial services. And we have housing in financial services. So I took the portion of the Green New Deal that related to housing, where Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants every new house to be emission-free and every existing house to be retrofitted to be emission-free.
Oh, really?
So I offered a resolution, an amendment, putting the Green New Deal language in our views and estimates to try to make them debate it, right? I mean, how in a polar vortex in Chicago or Wisconsin do you heat your house with a windmill or a solar panel, right? I mean, make it emission-free. This is crazy stuff. And by the way, they talk about the cost of housing, and they're right. This will be trillions of dollars of new cost in housing. Anyway, Maxine Waters told me that I wasn't serious. And I had to respond to her, no, I know I'm not serious because this Green New Deal isn't serious. And we had a long debate. Anyway, they all voted against the Green New Deal resolution that I offered them. Even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voted against it. So though the anti-Semitism stuff is serious, but we have to have a little bit of fun with them as well and call out how stupid they become in their policy and in their rhetoric.
Talk about the deepest cut of all, being called unserious by No Justice, No Peace, Maxine Waters. Wow, that's got to leave a mark.
That's right.
Also, too, I mean, just on the score of some of these high-profile freshman socialist women, Tlaib and AOC seem to have some issues with the FEC. Are you hearing a lot from the people that are very concerned that Trump may have violated FEC campaign finance strictures? Are they similarly concerned about the possibility of FEC violations by AOC and Tlaib?
Are you actually asking me, does the same standard apply for Republicans versus Democrats? No.
They're not. Stunning.
They're not the same standard. Yeah, and what I find fascinating is that the media, I mean, even when AOC, I mean, these radical New Democrats, they say stupid things. They introduce stupid bills. They mess up. I mean, I don't know we'll learn all the facts on this if we do an investigation. But in finance law, what they did in regard to the campaign looks really, really fishy and really, really illegal. But the media doesn't want to talk about that because that's not their narrative. Here's what I think is actually happening, you guys. And why, I mean, sometimes we sit back and go, what is happening in America and with the media and with this new socialist party that they call themselves Democrats? I believe Barack Obama, your good former senator there, who I didn't agree with much on anything. He wanted to fundamentally transform America, and because he couldn't complete it, they know now if they beat Donald Trump in 2020, they're going to get Kamala, they're going to get Bernie, they're going to get a socialist in the White House, and they are going to finish the work that Barack Obama started, which is this transformation to socialism, which is to poverty, which is a lack of growth, which is all the things we see in Venezuela. And that's what the media is fighting for. That's why they're trying to not call Democrats out and pummel Republicans, because they're part of this movement to transform the country into something we've never been.
I wanted to get your reaction to the sentencing of former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort to 47 months. Sort of interesting because of Paul Manafort is facing a life sentence. He's going to go to prison for life. He's done. He's this, he's that. So he has every reason to cooperate, to try and save himself, and so on and so forth. All of the associated melodrama and overheated rhetoric coming from the left about Manafort. And again, here, even with that sentencing, and Paul Manafort's relationships overseas in the Eastern Bloc, maybe there's evidence of collusion between Paul Manafort and Eastern Bloc dictators, but still no evidence of collusion that would involve the president.
Oh, and we're not shocked by that. And we all know that if there was any evidence of collusion, it would have been leaked out a long time ago. We've heard Democrats actually say we've seen evidence of collusion. Well, we're like, okay, well, show us, right? I could say the main crime that Manafort committed was that he actually was involved in the Donald Trump campaign. I don't suffer criminals, and Manafort was a criminal. He was a tax evader. He was a liar, and he should be held accountable. I do think the sentence was probably a little steep for a guy who's 69, 70 years old, for going to prison for 4 years when you compare it to other sentences. But again, I think this is a shot across everyone's bow to say, listen, if you support or work with Donald Trump, we're gonna come after you. And I think what you see now is a transition. I think a lot of Democrats are realizing there is no Russia collusion. They've spent 2.5 years every single day talking about it. And so now the transition is now taking place to, well, it must be then corruption. It must be corruption in the Trump organization, in the Trump family. There are a bunch of mobsters. Let's now push that angle, because we know that the collusion angle won't play out.
Were you surprised at how much attention and how much play Michael Cohen got, and the platform that he had to spew his hate towards President Trump?
Well, I was, especially considering that Donald Trump was in Vietnam trying to bring peace to the Korean Peninsula. They could have done it a different day. And what I find fascinating about Cohen is you don't know what to believe, right? He's a liar. And what frustrated me was that he kept saying, Donald Trump made me lie. Donald Trump made me a bad person. Donald Trump brought me to the dark side. Well, the problem with that is a lot of the convictions why he's going to prison is, yes, he did lie to Congress, and Donald Trump didn't make him do that. He also lied on his taxes to benefit himself. Donald Trump didn't make him do that. I mean, he's a liar and a cheater. And I think even we saw in the hearings that Cohen said he didn't ask the president for a pardon. And then, lo and behold, Andy Davis had to come out and correct that and say, no, actually, he did ask the president for a pardon. So he didn't even lie. After being convicted of lying to Congress, he lied to Congress again.
Right, about that, about the issue of directing his attorney, according to his attorney, Stephen Ryan, at the time, directing him to pursue the prospect of a pardon with Trump's legal counsel. In addition, the idea that he never sought a job at the White House, when there's a lot of evidence, even CNN conceded that he actually did. So what about that? What about the effort by some House Republicans to hold him to account for lying to Congress yet again?
Well, here's the problem. We can't prosecute, right? You can lie to us, but we can't prosecute you.
You can refer.
Refer it, right. We refer it. Well, it seems like if you're trying to squeeze somebody to go against Donald Trump, they'll prosecute him to squeeze him. But now that they already have Cohen, and Cohen is singing the right tune, because it's whatever tune the Mueller investigation or Democrats want him to sing, then they let him go. But he should be prosecuted again. for lying to the Congress. What I find fascinating though is everyone, if he says things that are crazy about President Trump, the news networks will run with it for days and don't sit and reflect and go, hey, listen, we got to really look at this guy's a liar. He doesn't tell the truth. Why do we put any weight into anything he says? And by the way, we know he's going to try to write a book or sell his movie rights and make millions of dollars off his testimony. He's only looking out for Michael Cohen. Whether when he was working for Donald Trump, he was working for Michael Cohen, and even when he's been prosecuted, now he's working for Michael Cohen and what's in his best interest.
What do you anticipate, you and your colleagues in the House Republican caucus anticipate from the Mueller report? And will you, what's the perspective on the caucus in terms of, as full of disclosure to the public as possible?
Well, this was an investigation about Russia collusion. Now, first, I hate to say this again, but if you care about Russia collusion, I'm disappointed they weren't looking at Hillary Clinton, because that's the only space we know of anyone who colluded with Russia, when she had a law firm that hired investigators that, brought in, Kremlin agents to get dirt on Donald Trump and create the dossier. But with that said, if there isn't anything in there about Russia collusion or any other criminal activity, I think the rest of it should remain under seal. If you have dirt on Donald Trump, to bring out this investigation and try to embarrass our president, I think is a mistake. If they have criminal allegations, I think we should know about that. If there's Russia collusion, we should know about that too. But if there's just salacious commentary in the report that would embarrass the president, that shouldn't be made public. Again, he's still the U.S. president. He still represents our country, and he's still doing great things to grow our economy, try to rebuild our military, secure our border, doing all the things that we conservatives believe a limited government should look like. President Trump has been delivering on. So I don't want to embarrass the guy.
All right. He is Sean Duffy, Republican congressman from Wisconsin 7. Sean, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, you guys have a great morning.
Take care.
Thanks. Have a good weekend, too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.